DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Today's daily motivation. We'll talk about the 10x rule or the 10x principle, whatever you want to call it. Just 10x is what we're going to talk about. So, some of you, if you pay attention to contemporary people, you probably heard like Grant Cardone, for example, has a book called the 10x rule. And there are a bunch of other people. There's companies call themselves 10x marketing. There's a whole bunch of 10x. A lot of people say 10x something. There's probably like 10 people out there these days actively saying 10x something around the things that they do. And I've even heard people from way back, like Dan Kennedy, who's an older guy, stuff that he talked about decades back, talking about 10x. And I'm going to explain it to you as a general principle, not coming from any of those people, but they all are focused on similar principles. That's what we're going to talk about here in today's daily motivation. And from what I've heard from many of them, because I've read many of their books, I've watched their videos, listened to their speeches and things like that, and the principles, while they may have different tactics and different language that they put around it, it all ends up in the same spot, which is the following. You need to multiply your outputs, your efforts, and your pace by 10x relative to what you are used to what you consider normal, and what the other people around you, the other people you see, whether they're your peers, your competitors, whatever. If you multiply your inputs, speed, and your idea production, your everything that you're doing, basically that's why it's called 10x. It's basically 10xing everything that you're doing in terms of what you can control. I'm not saying you got to aim for 10x the income, because everybody wants to 10x their income, but you can't really force that all the time. There are things you can do that can lead to it, but you can't guarantee that that's going to happen. But you can guarantee that you put out 10 times more materials. You can 10x how much money you put into your marketing campaigns. You can 10x how many different variations of an ad that you put out. You can 10x how many phone calls you make every day if you're in sales. You can 10x the amount of messages that you send to your audience when you're trying to get their attention and make something happen. So you can 10x a whole lot of things that are under your control. And you can 10x your pace, you can 10x your speed. You can take what is normal for you, what you've been normally doing, and you can multiply that by 10. And again, I've heard a bunch of different marketers, a bunch of different motivators, whatever you want to call these people, philosophers, talk about 10xing, and they all are saying, as a general point, the same thing. If you want to 10x your results, the simplest thing you can do, this is not easiest, but simplest thing you can do, is you need to 10x the ingredients that you are putting into the pot. In other words, everything that I just talked about. If you're a marketer, you want to 10x the returns on your marketing, then why don't you try 10 times more different campaigns next time you do an ad? Why don't you send 10 times more emails? Why don't you make 10 times more sales calls? You used to making 5 calls a day. Why don't you make 50? I mean, it's not that you can't do it. Not that you can't. And this is something I heard Dan Kennedy specifically say. Grant Cardone talks about this as well. He doesn't say it in as direct language, but he says the same thing. Number one thing that gets in the way of anybody applying this 10x concept to anything that you're doing is the fixed mindset that you have that you can't do these things. Like just a second ago when I said you used to making 5 sales calls a day, why don't you make 50? The first thing that many people think, if you were seriously considering that, is how you can't make 50 sales calls a day. That's just too many calls. You just don't have the time. You don't have the space. You don't know if you even got 50 people to call. You would get too tired. It would take too long. These built-in beliefs that you have about what you can't do, folks, this is the biggest thing that's getting in the way of you 10xing your results, because the only way you can 10x your results is you have to try different things that will 10x your inputs. Now, are you going to be able to 10x everything all at the same time, given your current resources? Maybe not, but can you start with one? Then can you add a second? Can you add a third and a fourth? And here's the thing about human beings. We are highly adaptable creatures, meaning if you're used to making 5 calls a day, and then one day, for whatever reason, let's say somebody offered you, I'll give you $1,000, you make 50 calls a day instead of 5. Could you make 50 calls? Of course you could. You would make the 50 calls, collect your $1,000, right? Now, what did you just prove to yourself? That it is possible for you to make 50 calls in a day. It might be hard, might not be normal for you, it may be uncomfortable for you, but you just proved to yourself that it is possible, that it's possible to do. Now that you proved to yourself that it's possible to do, if you keep doing that, You tell me. Do you think you would eventually start making more sales than you've been making when you were only making 5 calls a day? I mean, just logically, does that make sense? Of course it makes sense. And of course, anybody can do it. The biggest thing in your way, as I just said, is your belief that you can't for whatever reason. You have it set in your mind and this is all you're capable of and you can't go any further than this. And let me tell you all something. I talked to a lot of people over the last 2 decades. I've talked to a lot of different people, whether athletes, entrepreneurs, students, everyday people, and in all different areas, working on all different things, whether it was mindset related, money related, success related, motivation related, physically related. I talked to people in all different spaces. I've worked in a lot of different industries, and the common thing that gets in people's way is the exact thing that I just told you, is many people simply believe they cannot do certain things, so they aren't willing to try. So next time, I heard Dan Kennedy say this, next time you have a problem and you're trying to solve it, instead of implementing one solution, why don't you come up with 10 solutions? And instead of trying one solution at a time, try to implement all 10 solutions to the problem at the same time. Do you think you will solve the problem faster? And at least one of those things is going to work. Of course it would. Again, the biggest challenge is many people thinking, well, I can't multiply what I'm doing by 10 because I'm already doing everything that I can right now. This is something that I heard another person that he didn't even say 10x, but I heard him say something that goes right along with what I'm talking about right here. It was an Andrew Tate video. It was one of those collage videos, or what do they call those? Montage videos, where he just take a bunch of different clips from stuff that he said. And one of the things that he was saying was, people say, well, I'm trying the best that I can. And he said, well, if you're trying the best that you can, then that means you will have every outcome that you want. So if you don't have the outcome that you want, then you're clearly not trying the best that you can, because if you're trying your best and you still don't have the things that you want, then that means you're just destined to lose and destined to fail. And nobody believes that. Most people who are trying to succeed don't believe that. So if you think you're trying your best and you still don't have your outcomes, that means somebody's lying here, or something ain't right. You're not trying your best. You haven't given your best yet because you haven't pushed yourself to do things, because again, there's a belief that you have in your head that you can't do it. But you can do it, you just haven't pushed yourself to even try it. Many people say they can't do something they never even tried before. Any of you ever been guilty of that? You want to admit it? Any of you ever talked to somebody who said that? I've talked to a lot of people who said that. People who just tell me, I say, well, I want you to do this and this. And they will say, well, I can't do that. And I will say to them logically and objectively, how do you know you can't do it? You never even tried. And then they got, of course, human beings, we are really great at coming up with logical defenses for our emotional beliefs. So we'll come up with some emotional belief, I can't do this. Why not? Why can't you do that? You never even tried, so how do you know you can't do it? And then they'll come up with a bunch of logical explanations for, well, I can't because this, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, nobody ever does that, I never did it before. How am I going to do that? I'm barely getting by with what I'm doing right now. Here's the thing, folks, and this is why at Work on Your Game, inside Work on Your Game University, I really want you all to understand this. The number one thing that we focus on in the university is mindset. And what I'm explaining to you here today, this is the reason why. Most of you think, many of you who's striving to achieve anything, think that your biggest challenge is, well, I just need to learn how to make more money. I just need to learn how to put the right strategy in place for my business. I just need to learn how to get better leads so I can sell my products. I just need to learn how to dribble better and make more jump shots and 3-pointers. I just need to learn how to lose more weight. Many of you think your biggest challenge is some type of strategic, tactical, action-based thing, and as soon as somebody shows you how to do the thing, whatever the thing is, then all your problems will be solved. And it's not that knowing how to do that thing is not necessary. You do need to know how to do that thing. You do need to learn how to lose weight. You do need to learn how to close a sale. You do need to learn those things. I'm not saying that those things are not needed, but is that the main issue? No, it's not. Main issue is your mindset around what you are capable of even implementing that could possibly move you to solving the strategic, tactical problem that you believe is in your way. Everybody understand what I just said? You can rewind that. Let me say it again. Main thing that's in your way is the mindset that tells you you can't even implement the possible fixes to the problem that you believe is the main thing in your way. The main thing in your way is not that thing, the strategic how-to thing. The main thing is the mindset behind what could I try that could possibly solve this issue. You get that fixed, everything else gets fixed. That's what the 10X is about. So with all that said, folks, that's today's daily motivation. I want you to leave a comment in this video. Let me know the best action step you took based on what you heard here today. Make sure you text me so you're getting my Monday motivation every Monday for free. My number is 305-384-6894. You'll get it for free every week to your phone. You want to get daily motivation, we'll tell you the options for getting into the daily motivation as well. And what else? Make sure you do all the YouTube stuff while you're here. Subscribe, notification bell, like the video, share the video with somebody who needs to hear this message, and workonyourgameuniversity.com. Like I just told you about, that is the place where I do all my coaching. You want to be coached by me directly. That's the only place I coach anybody. Workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link down below in the description. Have a great day. Work on your game.